I'm Sean Condon, and we're in Crecora in County Limerick. I'm an organic farmer. I was organic dairying for the past 17, 18 years, up to last November, and I exited dairying. I suppose I've been milking cows up to that for over 40 years, and I decided to take a step back from it. I left dairying because I didn't have anybody to come after me in the family. I have 3 daughters that aren't really, they have their own careers, they're not that interested in farming. The farm here, the home farm here, is about 40 hectares, and I have about 13 hectares leased. I kept some of the dairy cows, a small number, and they're rearing calves, beef calves, and you know, I had some calves that I reared last year as well from when I was still dairying, and I'm just going to build up some beef cattle and do a bit of beef farming. I was conventional up to 2006, and I went organic at that stage, and I just kind of, I suppose it always appealed to me, you know, and the opportunity was there to go for it. There was a scheme which helped, and I went for it, and no regrets. As conventional, I would never have been overstocked, so I wouldn't have been very heavy on fertilizer. But I did notice for the first year, the land looked a bit yellow, a little bit hungry. I remember ringing an organic farmer at the time who was organic for a long time, and I said it to him, and he said, look, you know, you just got to hang in there. The first year and a half, the roots of the grass are going to be waiting to be fed from overhead. And after a year and a half, they'll realize that that it's not coming, and they'll have to go down. And in fairness, that's what happened. And a year later, there was just a huge difference. Some of that land is rushy, and I suppose, you know, it got worse since we went organic. We were, obviously, it wasn't ever been sprayed with anything. Fertilizer, nitrogen wasn't being put out on the land, and the rush problem got worse. But of course, over the years, you get tired of cutting rushes, you know. And I was reading up about it, and I kind of read stuff by Clive Brighton, a farmer in Sligo, where he talked about dysfunctional water systems and all that. And that triggered something where I thought, yeah, that's certainly what's going on here. I have, at one side of one of the fields, I have a line of trees along by a roadway, and there's no rushes out 30 meters or 25 meters from that line of trees. So I'm thinking, okay, what if I have trees along the field, and you know, every so many meters we can do the same thing, you know. So I've been looking into agroforestry for the past few years, trying to get as much information as I can about it and get educated on it, and it's something that I'm interested in. So we intend to go with 5 hectares, maybe in the coming winter now, to plant it through the agroforestry scheme, and you know, try it out and see where it goes. I think it is very interesting, and it definitely has a place going forward on farms, especially organic farms. So you know, I'm looking forward to that. Putting trees on good land, some farmers will have a serious problem with it, but I think, you know, as farmers, we need to be educated a bit, and you know, in relation to that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It has been proven, I think, where trees and farming have taken place together, that the yield from the land has increased because of the trees being there. So it's like then as if maybe getting a free crop of trees as well, you know. But it's a big change from what we have been doing for so long. So change, you know, none of us like change, and people are slow to change. So, but it will take time, you know. But I think people need to be educated. We all need to be educated as farmers in relation to what the benefits are. The trees will be growing kind of in groups, but long lines of, you know, so there'll be maybe 8 trees wide, and going down the length of the field, maybe, you know, with a few gaps along the way. So it won't be just lines of trees right throughout the field. So there'll be a an area, maybe something like 12 meters between the rows, so that you could cut silage. Tractor would have room, and you leave room at the headland so the tractor could swing around. So we want to do it. We've talked about it a fair bit, what would work, and we want to do it in a way that makes it possible to farm the land and have the trees as well, you know, because you don't want it so that it's just unmanageable with cattle, you know. So that's the plan, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, how it will turn out. Yeah, those trees were planted, I would say, about 17, 18 years ago. We just planted a bit of trees you can see around here. They went in under a scheme through Coford, I think, at the time. I don't remember. Up to now, the cows haven't been going in there. We left them in maybe there in last autumn for the first time, but I'd intend to leave them in more now, but I'd probably just leave them in, graze it and get them out of it rather than leave them in there all the time, you know. But those trees are fine and strong now. It wouldn't be a problem like there'd be, you know, but obviously for the first 10 years after planting, you couldn't do that. I noticed there now when I left the animals, the cows, into the trees there last fall, they spend most of their time there. You know, they're grazing and they're in the trees. So for some reason they love that, you know. And I think it's a kind of it's just a natural thing. Like farmers, including myself, aren't used to, you know, that and used to the benefits for cattle, but they seem to be happy in there, you know, and it seems as if it's, I suppose, maybe it's just they feel safer in there or whatever, you know, but they do like them, you know, and I'm sure when they go into trees in the summer, which they always will, because they'll go for a sheltered hedge or whatever, you know, they'll be mad for it, you know, when the sun is shining, hopefully. I certainly see a way for environmentalists and farmers to come together. You know, what we hear on the radio all the time, or the TV, are the people, you know, that are polar opposites, and you know, and it creates a nice row or argument on radio. But I would say that, you know, the average farmer out there is interested in preserving wildlife, and the average farmer doesn't want to do any damage out there. Now, certainly, intensive farming is creating problems, you know, but I think, look, farmers, environmentalists, everybody needs to work together. There's absolutely, you know, what you hear sometimes from the polar opposites doesn't achieve anything really, like, you know. So like, farmers at the end of the day aren't going to be railroaded into anything. You're better off to bring them along, and if you bring people along, it's like anything else in life. If you bring people along, you'll achieve something. So just around at the far side of this group of trees, we put in a pond there for wildlife in October. We were lucky to get it done. The weather was really wet at the time, but we got in the digger to do it. So we did that through the Farming for Nature project. I'm an ambassador for the Farming for Nature for the past few years, and it's a great project in relation to, you know, encouraging farming for nature. I got a grant from the Farming for Nature for that, and obviously that helped. But it's great, you know, that have been put in lots of farms around the country. Yeah, it just adds to a nice little habitat here, you know. You'd a wild duck in there straight away, you know, your water rail in there straight away. It's amazing. I suppose it's only from now on I'm going to see the, you know, hopefully damsel flies and stuff like that now with the weather starting to warm. Farmers can put in those things, even a pond, and they can, you know, they can use it as a marketing tool. You know, you can have photographs, you can put it on your label, whatever, and there, you know, every consumer won't want to spend the money, but there are a certain amount of people out there who really value it and who will pay the extra when they see where the food is being produced. And they're very keen that you produce in a way that's environmentally friendly. Up to last year when I was dairying, I was bottling organic raw milk, you know, and the people that were buying that, they wanted to see the way I was farming. They were prepared to pay a decent premium for that. I think an agroforestry label could help. You know, you've got the organic label, that helps, you know. Even on organic farms, if you can add an agroforestry label to that, it's like I said earlier, you know, people will pay extra because they see trees on the farm, they see the benefits to wildlife. And I think that's what farmers need to capture and learn to capture is, you know, I've got trees on the farm, I've got agroforestry, now I can get a premium for my product. It may be only a small cohort of consumers that are prepared to pay it, but maybe I can capture that market, you know, and I think that's probably, you know, the way to go for a good few farmers, because, you know, getting away from mass produced food and producing environmentally friendly food, and it'll take time for all consumers to be buying that type of food, but, you know, there'll be 20% of consumers who will probably be keen to support that type of system.